50,000 years ago, humans faced a horizon that offered absolutely nothing but endless, cold water.
You are waist-deep in cold water, holding a wooden pole, staring at a horizon that shows you absolutely nothing. No land, no birds, no smoke, just the flat gray line where the sea meets the sky. You built this boat with your own hands, from trees, rope, and a stubborn, deep-seated sense of hope. It is about 50,000 years ago. You have no map, you have no compass, you have no idea. You have no idea if there is anything out there at all, and yet you push off into the unknown. You leave the only coastline your family has ever known, and you paddle straight into the deep blue unknown.
Why? That is the question, the whole question, really. Because when you look at a map of the world today,
you see humans everywhere. Frozen tundra, scorching desert, dense jungle, tiny specks of islands in the middle of an ocean.
The ocean is so vast, it makes your stomach drop. We are the only large animal that lives on every continent. And we didn't get there by accident. Somebody walked, somebody sailed, somebody at some point looked at an impossible distance. Not with engines, not with satellites, not with the guy on the phone telling you to take the second exit.
With their feet, their boats, their memory, and a kind of stubborn curiosity that honestly borders on insane.
And here is the thing nobody tells you. The story doesn't start where you think it starts. It doesn't start with sailing ships. It doesn't start with the Vikings. It doesn't even start with our species. Because the urge to move, to leave, to go, and see what's over the next hill might be older than humanity itself.
Let me show you what I mean. Let's start with the first great walk.
Because before anyone sailed anywhere, our ancestors walked, and they walked a distance that is genuinely difficult. Around 2 million years ago, in Africa, there was a human ancestor called Homo erectus.
Not us, an older cousin, slightly shorter, thicker-boned, with a brain smaller than ours, but a body built to move.
And Homo erectus did something no ape had ever done before. It left. It walked out of Africa entirely. We know this because of a place called Dmanisi, in the country of Georgia, tucked between mountains and old volcanic rock. In the 1990s and early 2000s, archaeologists there pulled fossilized skulls out of the ground, human ancestor skulls, and dated them to roughly 1.8 million years ago. Let that sink in. Almost 2 million years ago, a small band of upright, tool-carrying ancestors had already crossed out of Africa
and made it deep into Asia. They had no clothes worth mentioning, no agriculture, no writing, no wheel.
Just legs, stone tools, and the ability to keep going. And keep going they did.
Homo erectus fossils show up in China, in Indonesia, spread across a good chunk of the old world over hundreds of thousands of years. Not for a season, not for a lifetime, for a span of time so long, it's almost meaningless to say out loud.
And here's what's wild. That first Great Migration wasn't a plan. Nobody stood up and announced, "We shall conquer Asia."
It happened, one valley at a time, one good hunting ground leading to the next.
Generation after generation, drifting a few miles further, following animals, following water, following the vague pull of somewhere else.
Over enough time, a walk of a few miles per generation becomes a journey across a continent.
But here's where it gets interesting, because Homo erectus was the opening act.
The early human migration began in Africa, with small groups starting to spread across the continent and eventually the globe.
That's us, Homo sapiens. And when we finally left Africa, we didn't just walk.
We did something far stranger. Now let's talk about the moment our own species stepped out into the world. Because this is the migration that made everyone alive today. Genetically, we can actually trace this. Scientists studying DNA from people all over the planet have found that nearly everyone outside of Africa descends from a single wave
of humans who left the continent somewhere between 60,000 and 70,000 years ago.
It probably wasn't a huge crowd. Some estimates suggest the founding population, the group whose genes seeded the entire rest of the world, may have been just a few thousand people, maybe fewer. Think about that. Every person in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, and the Americas, everyone traces back through that one narrow bottleneck. A small band of humans crossing out of Africa, probably through the region we now call the Middle East. And if that tiny group had failed, if disease or drought or bad luck had wiped them out, huge chunks of humanity would simply never have existed. You wouldn't be here. That's not a figure of speech, it's just true.
And these were fully modern humans. Same brains as you, same hands.
They could plan, they could tell stories, they could imagine a place they had never seen and decide to walk toward it. And they moved fast. In the grand scale of things, absurdly fast. Within a few thousand years of leaving Africa, humans had spread across the Middle East, into Central Asia, along the coasts of Southern Asia. They met other human species along the way, the Neanderthals in Europe and Western Asia, the Denisovans further east. Today, if you're of non-African descent, you carry a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA in your body right now.
Around 2% for many people. A genetic fingerprint of an encounter tens of thousands of years old.
These migrations weren't clean lines on a map. They were messy, tangled human, but walking across land, following coastlines.
That's one thing. It's difficult, sure, but you can always see where you're going.
Now let's talk about the Americas. Two enormous continents, North and South America, and for most of human history, completely empty of people. The classic story goes like this. During the last ice age, so much water was frozen into glaciers that sea levels dropped, and a stretch of land emerged between Siberia and Alaska. We call it the Bering Land Bridge, or Beringia. It wasn't a narrow bridge, like in a cartoon. It was a vast, grassy, freezing plain, hundreds of miles wide.